Hi, welcome to Real Exposures, where we interview today's top pros with real thought-provoking questions. Today we have a close friend of mine, Gabriel Biderman, to talk about photography taking place in the dark of night. Gabriel Biderman is a travel and self-taught fine art photographer for over 15 years. Gabe's work has been featured in photography exhibits in San Francisco, New York, London, and Hawaii, as well as being published and printed on the internet. He has lectured nationally at the F295 Symposium, Rocky Mountain School of Photography, the B&H Event Space, and is a familiar face to many professional photographers in his current role managing trade shows and attending seminars on behalf of B&H Photo, the professional source. He possesses a unique ability where he can squeeze great images from any type of camera, be it a vintage film camera, pinhole camera, digital point and shoot, digital SLR from brands across the board. Me, I get confused when I shoot with more than one camera. Gabe can be called polycamerous. Welcome, Gabriel, to Real Exposures. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is. You know, I see you often, so it's almost every day I see you. We've had many dinners together. We've traveled, and so it's great to have you actually part of Real Exposures. You had a show a couple of years ago that I was helping you install, and the show was great. You had lots of photography. They were in different frames, but you had many different genres of photography going on. And looking at that show, I kind of realized that some of your strongest work was your night photography. And I think that you had sort of diluted yourself by showing all those different genres under one roof. And, you know, let's face it, you're a young guy. You weren't ready for a retrospective yet. It seems like since then, you know, you really focused on night photography. And tell me a little bit about your experience just going in on that one genre.
I was working with a body of work called Time Exposed, which dealt with pinhole, daytime, nighttime, a little of both. But then when I looked at that retrospective show, definitely the night stuff was what stuck out the most. And it was also the stuff that I was working on the most. So yes, by you saying that, it's like, you know, it was a further assurance that I should focus more. And I committed to shooting every full moon since then. And the body of work just grew dramatically since then. And also teaching the seminar here at B&H Event Space. You know, I started that seminar out.
I remember that. It was much more broad in it.
It was broad. It was called The Fine Art of the Long Exposure. And it was dealing about all different ways you can see differently. But the feedback we got back was more people were curious about the night.
Why the night? What was it that appealed to you about night photography, nocturnal photography?
Sure. Well, the night forever has held mystery to humans. You know, the darkness, what happens, and especially with photography, it helps you see in a whole new way. You know, your camera sees much differently than your eyes, and when we can expose this new light that our eyes can't see, it brings magic. It brings, you know, the places that we shoot and find, everything's almost been shot, right? So we're always looking for something new, and night photography, I think, brings a nice newness to the photography world. Most of the world takes pictures at fractions of a second, click, click, click. But when we can expose for seconds, minutes, even hours.
I remember one time you said, Henri Cartier-Bresson said.
Exactly, right. He was the master of the moment, the fraction of a second, the 50th of a second, where all time stops, freezes, everything's frozen. And I was like, yeah, you know, if you look at his body of work, it's wonderful, but what does it amount to time-wise? You know, maybe a week, if you think of it time-wise. Whereas, you know, with longer exposures, when we're working on seconds, minutes, again, my typical exposure is a combination of moments. So it's not just capturing one moment, it's capturing the stars moving, the shadows moving, light painting, et cetera, all these additions that we can now paint into the scene.
So when you're dealing in night photography, is there any special type of gear that you're relying on? What's in your gear bag?
Well, you need the camera. Camera lens, you definitely need a tripod and a cable release. Those are like sort of the three essentials. Which we have, quite a few here. The flashlight, this is definitely something that is often forgotten. And you can notice that on my flashlight, it's got a lot of tape on it, because tape in the field, you know, when you're mussing around at night, whether you want to hide the light of your camera at night or whether you need to lock something down with tape So I always have my flashlight with me and the tape as well. There's our cable release right here.
This is something that we carry at B&H, and it's kind of unique. It's the Pear Stone release, which it has a long time on it, a long exposure timer.
Right. This is one. It's Pearstone and Velo are the two exclusive brands that we carry. And what's nice about this one, why I like that one, is that you can do intervals. So you can. That leads to more creativity post. If you take a bunch of images, one right after another, do some sequential shooting, whether it be a time-lapse movie or stacking or something like that post. But this
It's pretty cool, but some cameras don't come with that. But when you attach this onto it, you have access to that type of shooting.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, the smaller ones are $10, $15. These are about $50. So I
won't break the bank.
I usually go with two, just in case anything happens. Again, always when you're working at night, I go 2 flashlights, 2 remotes, backup batteries.
Okay, and Fuji, this came out last year, Fujifilm
Yep.
X100.
Yep.
This one really shocked me because you compared it to other cameras and you said that this is incredible in low light, super low noise.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I was sort of looking for a new camera, and I love the design of it. I definitely love retro cameras. I have a great camera, a classic camera collection, so I love the look at it. And I got to borrow one, and I was like, just on a whim, I brought it on a night shoot. And I was amazed at the image quality that came out of it from an APS-C size sensor. But also, this is an amazing camera for long exposures. You can manually focus it, and I was doing 40-minute exposures, no noise reduction, incredibly clean.
Amazing. And I noticed also on this command dial, it's got T and B.
Yes, T for time and B for bulb.
It's like old school. And then the release is
it takes your old
standard
manual, your
cable release.
That's it.
Nothing fancy.
The battery is also long lasting. I was shooting with the D700, which I love, but I went through two D700 batteries and not even one of these.
Cool.
At night. So that was great. Film,
What's this? No, I'm kidding. This is
I still shoot film, and not as heavily as I used to, but I still shoot film. At night, you need to be productive because, especially the work that I do, you're usually getting one setup done in about 45 minutes to an hour. So if I bring 2 or 3 setups, a digital setup and a film setup, then you're upping your productivity and coming away with more shots.
You know, A-Cross is one of my favorite black and white films. This is amazing stuff.
Yep.
What do you rate your A-Cross at?
80.
80.
80, yeah.
You don't want to live on the edge. Push it. Bring it to 60 ASA if you really want to live on the edge. And of course, Lens Baby, you're kind of well known for your Lens Baby lectures and workshops.
Yep.
And you bend it quite often.
I love anything that can force you to see in a different way, put you in that mindset. I mean, a lot of us can do that just with our own visions, but it's really nice to have, gear is important, and it's really important if it helps push those visions along, which I think, the Lens Baby's digital revolution has pushed the visions along, and certain films and other lenses have also done that.
You have a beautiful digital darkroom. It's pretty cool because it's not incredibly large, but on one end of it, you've got a straight up Mac workstation. You've got HP and Epson printers, I think. You've got dueling printers going on. But on the other side of the darkroom, you have an Omega D4 Enlarger. You've got a Jobo processor. Yep. You've got a brand new UV light source, so you've been playing with that, a little alternative process. Which out of the digital process or the analog process gives you the most joy to actually produce images with?
I love the process. Some people just like to hand it away and let the labs do it, but I've always sort of enjoyed that. So it's tough to say which one. I definitely still shoot film, and I develop the film at home, but right now I'm doing a lot of my printing either with digital negatives in the UV box, or I really found a nice metallic paper, inkjet paper, that I've got some very successful results with for just inkjet printing.
For a lot of people, sometimes digital negatives can be a little bit confusing. Do you just want to talk about how a digital negative bridges the gap between the digital and the analog world?
Yeah, sure. So using, either using film or using just a digital file, you need to invert that file, which turns it in Photoshop, it turns it into a negative. and then you fuss around with it depending upon what process you're going to do. Sometimes there's a green layer, sometimes there's different layers.
So cyanotype, platinum.
Exactly. So what's your output? Right. You can use many of these old processes: platinum, palladium, cyanotype, Van Dyke. You know, there is thousands of processes that, it's funny, we use our phones, a lot of us are now using our phones in these hipstamatic ways, and hipstamatic was kind of born from all these alternative processes.
It's so nice to hold a finished photograph in your hands that is always a little bit different. There's an alternative process. It's hard to replicate exactly.
It's definitely always a one of a kind.
Because digital, you could always replicate the zeros and ones. You can make the same print over and over and over. It's exactly the same, but all.
And that's nice for some jobs, right? Some jobs you need to just pump it out, and this business needs 50 of these prints, all the same. But I think if you're truly a creative and truly like the process, then you love looking at each one and being like, okay, how did I do this? This one's different. This one's bluer. This one's browner. This one's has a different look to it.
Gabe, I want to do something that we do here at Real Exposures with you. This is classic word association.
Okay.
I'm going to say something, and the first thing that comes to your mind, we're going to get inside your head a little bit here. Fuji X1 Pro.
You.
It's my next camera. Okay. Let's put the order in for it. Flashbulb.
Ouija.
Reciprocity.
Failures.
T-Star.
T-Star. Wow.
I said you were a Zeiss man.
I was Iceman, right, yeah.
Mercury.
Dangerous. Daguerreotype. Dangerous daguerreotype.
Zone.
System.
I was banking you would say that. Okay. At Real Exposures, we like to get insight into photographer. You're on a deserted island. You get to have one camera with you and one album, as in music album. What's the camera and what's the music album?
I better bring a pinhole camera. I'm gonna be there for a while.
You're gonna be there for a while.
So pinhole, as long as I have a bunch of film, I'll just stock up because, you know. So that'll be great. And the album, it fluctuates from time to time. But let me think of maybe Led Zeppelin's 4 album. You know, there's plenty of music. The box set.
How many times can you listen to Stairway to Heaven? Exactly. Infinite. Wonderful, cool. Okay, so if you want to learn more about Gabriel Biderman, check out his video that we recorded about his popular Night Visions Event Space presentation. And you can also check out his blog to learn more about upcoming workshops. And Gabe, I want to thank you for joining us at Real Exposures. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much. It was really good to have you. Thanks.
All right, I'll take the X Pro one.
Okay. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
For more information, please visit us online, give us a call, or stop by our New York City Superstore. You can also connect with us on the web.